we'll keep admitting people.
Okay, yeah. So good morning, everyone. And I'm Manish. I'm Manish. I'm a part of Bioincubation team at Venture Center. A warm welcome to our speaker and all the participants who have joined us online for today's talk by Dr. Suchita Markan. So today's talk is basically aimed to help and understand MedTech innovators and entrepreneurs on how can they benefit from different ICMR initiatives such as MedTech Mitra and other activities in order to achieve regulatory compliance, do clinical validation, as well as for the fundraising programs. So before we begin the talk, I will just give you a brief introduction about Venture Center. So Venture Center was established in the year 2007, and it is hosted by CSI NCL. It is national. We are the national implementation partners for different national initiatives like DSC Niti and BIRAC. Just a minute.
Slide has not changed, Manish.
Yeah, just figuring that out.
You can share the screen instead of the window. Yeah, it's changing now.
Yeah, so we are implementation partners for different national programs like DSA, NITI, BIRAC, and also partner for BIG, and we host BIRAC Regional Bioinnovation Center. We have supported 1,800 plus startups in the last 17 years, of which you would be able to find at any time more than 80 resident startups on our campus. Through this 17-year record, we have been bestowed with numerous awards, starting from Best Incubator for Nurturing IP Award, as well as #1 Bioincubator by Biospectrum magazine. So far, in the last 8 years, our startups have been able to generate a revenue of more than 1,700 CR and mobilize a risk capital of more than 700 CR. Our startups are also have also created the jobs of more than 5,900, and our 85% of the startups are still active. Even in the last financial year of 22-23, we are able to generate more than 1,600 jobs. Our startups have created more than 150 plus unique families of patents and are able to successfully commercialize 120 plus products and services. So coming to the ecosystem development for startup nurturing, we provide an end-to-end ecosystem for nucleating and nurturing startups, right from providing them with the necessary infrastructure like office spaces, desks, labs, etc. We have a well-curated network of more than 200 plus networks, mentors and experts in our community. And we also advise the startups on different fundraising options, such as government programs as well as CSR funds. We also help them file their IP and do the regulatory approvals. In-house, we have a prototyping service unit and advanced analytical support. We also host a BIRAC NBM supported GLP compliant biopharma analysis center and ISO 13485 certified MedTech clean room. Apart from that, we have a BIRAC NBM supported regional tech transfer office, which help the academicians transfer their technologies from lab to market. And so these are the different initiatives to which we support not only the MedTech startups, but also other startups like which belong to different areas like biotech, biomedical, healthcare, defense, agriculture, food, and nutrition. So this is a snapshot of our different resource centers that have developed over the period of years. As you may see, specifically since today we are catering to the MedTech startups, you would be able to see that we have a hot lab, cell studio, analytical labs, which help them to develop a proof of concept. Later, for the prototype development, we have a tinkering lab and makers have lab, which are the part of our prototyping services. To help with the regulatory approvals such as state license, manufacturing license, and the essential regulatory support, we have a regulatory information facilitation center, which is RIFC, and also a MedTech clean room for clinical testing and validation. So coming to the RIFC, which is Regulatory Information Facilitation Center, this is established under the aegis of BRBC, BIRAC Regional Bioinnovation Center. I'm happy to introduce our regulatory team, Chetna and Akash, who have joined here today for the call. So please feel free to interact with them as well. And our RIFC team aims to assist the bio entrepreneurs and medtech startups in planning, seeking, and securing regulatory approvals in India, US, and European countries. So our RFC team organized many events such as awareness sessions, one-to-one mentoring clinics, as well as providing MedTech startups with the regulatory resources and support, so as to provide an end-to-end ecosystem support in your MedTech innovation journey. We also have a ISO 13485 certified MedTech clean room facility, which is aimed for clinical testing and validation. So under this, you would be able to do trial manufacturing, sterilization, and packaging of medical devices. And this facility is open for use. We provided a certification for last 3 years, and now we are recertified and are open to support MedTech startups. So please free to connect with our RFC team. On the aegis of today's occasion, I would just like to mention that we are happy, our RFC team is happy to work with MedTech Mitra and ICMR team to help commercialize MedTech startups and bridge the existing gaps. So please feel free to follow our social media handles where we keep posting about our different initiatives, events, funding calls, and conferences. So please feel free to connect. So with this brief introduction, I would like to introduce our speaker for the today, Dr. Suchita Markan. So thank you, Dr. Suchita, for joining us and agreeing to speak about different ICMR initiatives. So Dr. Suchita Markan is a scientist and mission in charge of Medical Device and Diagnostics Mission Secretariat and Head Innovation and Translation Research Unit at Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. Dr. Markan is an expert in biomedical research, public policy and innovation in the area of medical devices and diagnostics with over 18 years of experience. She has led development and implementation of strategies and policies for promoting innovation and entrepreneurship with wider public health impact. She is a thought leader and has represented country's health agenda, particularly from the medical devices, diagnostics, innovation, and entrepreneurship perspective at national and international forums. And she also serves as an expert on various institutional committees in this sector. Recognizing her contributions, Dr. Markan was selected as an emerging leader for biomedical innovation and entrepreneurship under International Visitor Leadership Program of the United States Department of State. She has also been nominated for Leadership Exposure Program in Health Innovation Management of Cornell University at New York. Dr. Markan holds a doctorate in biotechnology from PGIMR Chandigarh and has completed her Executive General Management from IIM Lucknow and Executive Program in Public Health Policy, Leadership and Management from AIIMS Jodhpur. She is also a Registered Technology Transfer Professional, which is certified by AUTM US and STEM India. She has numerous national and international publications to her credit above all. So today's title of her talk is From Innovation to Impact, ICMR Initiatives for Strengthening the MedTech Ecosystem for Public Health. With this short introduction, I would just like to introduce and request Dr. Suchita Markan to please share her thoughts about different ICMR initiatives. At audience who have joined for today's session, please feel free to interact and keep posting your questions and comments in the chat box, and our team would be happy to take it after the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Premnath, for inviting me here and Manish for this introduction. So without taking much time, I'll start with my presentation. And it's always a pleasure to interact with startup innovators, which is the USP of Venture Center, since it has a great experience in this area. So let me start with my presentation. So basically what I'm trying to cover in today's presentation is an overarching role of ICMR in public health and how ICMR MDMS and MedTech Mitra are playing a role in fostering MedTech innovation ecosystem. I'll start with the good news. I'm sure most of you in the room would be aware that India has risen up to the occasion. Earlier, we were recognized as a country for Make in India technologies. We were very well known in IT. But when it came to innovation, we were not very much there. But maybe if we see the Global Innovation Index now, India has risen up to the occasion and we have leapfrogged our rank as number 81 to 39 in the last 10 years. And this is the Global Innovation Index. So therefore, we have made a mark in the area of innovation also in the globe. That's a very, very interesting news for all of you. Before going to what ICMR does, I'm sure most of you might be aware, but to build the context, ICMR is the oldest and biomedical research organization of the country under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and we have been contributing to foster biomedical research in the country since 1911, more than 100 years. And there are a lot of things which are being talked about. Our Honorable Minister and the Minister of State, the role ICMR is playing, and we are always at the forefront of biomedical research, trying to cater to the public health emergencies. And of course, for more than 100 years, we have been trying to set up and build an ecosystem for fostering biomedical research in the country. So that's our role for more than 100 years. So if you have to look at the ecosystem, innovation ecosystem in the country or in the world, what are the key ingredients that anybody would have to look at if you have to talk about innovation ecosystem? So these are some of the aspects which are essential ingredients of an innovation ecosystem. Number one, there are some macro elements to it and there are some micro elements to it. First, let's go to the macro elements. You definitely need to have good enabling policies for the innovation ecosystem to spur. So that's the basic thing. If you do not have enabling policies, things become very, very difficult. If you have, policies, the enabling policies are there, but if you do not have funding opportunities, then again, those policies will not get implemented into products and innovators won't be able to go to the next level. So definitely for innovation ecosystem to spur, you need to have very generous funding support primarily from the government, not only from government importantly plays role in de-risking the innovations, but again, you need to have whole lot of private funding as well. But today we will be talking more on what are the funding opportunities which are available with ICMR, which innovators are generally not aware. So it's an opportunity for us to share what are the funding opportunities ICMR offers. Another macro element of the innovation ecosystem is infrastructure. You need to have very good facilities, like you have venture center, you know that what are the kind of facilities they offer. You need QMS compliant facility, 13485 is there in venture center. So likewise, you must know what are the kind of infrastructure advancements which are available in the country and what role ICMR plays. I will be putting some light on that. These are some of the major macro elements. These three ingredients are there. Unless you have some kind of flagship initiatives to boost innovation, then again it becomes very difficult for the innovators to understand. These macro elements are there, but unless you see some flagship initiatives wherein you can enroll and get benefited through these macro elements is really important. So there comes the role of having some flagship initiatives, innovation-driven flagship initiatives. You need to have evidence-based research and validation mechanism. That is the USP of ICMR, that we are a leading biomedical research organization of the country. We have great strengths in facilitating preclinical and clinical validation of technologies. Since all medical devices are now regulated with the advent of Medical Device Rules 2017, any innovative device or diagnostic needs to be validated. It has to go through clinical studies. And generally, innovators struggle on how to develop a clinical study protocol, how to generate right evidence for public health, and how to make sure and convince the people that the device or the diagnostic that they have developed is safe and efficacious. So that's a very, very important role and the core work of ICMR, wherein we have a role to play. And again, even if you have generated evidence, if that evidence is not acceptable by the government, and we do not do a cost effectiveness analysis or health technology assessment, and do not recommend those technologies for absorption in public health, again is a bottleneck. So these are the entire end-to-end help by virtue of different programs and facilities ICMR supports. And I will be taking you through all these sections in my subsequent slides. So about enabling policies and guidelines, I'm sure the first thing that would come to your mind is the role that ICMR plays in ethics and clinical trials. That I told is the core business of ICMR. So ICMR has been pioneer in making appropriate guidelines so as to ensure that the biomedical research which is undertaken in our country is up to the mark. It is ethical, it is responsive, and it is able to address, help conduct clinical studies, and at the same time whatever is done is as per the regulatory requirements. So we have ICMR came out with bioethics guidelines. We keep on coming the revised versions of these bioethics guidelines. Ethical guidelines for AI, artificial intelligence is the way forward. So when lot of AI applications were coming in place, the other side of the story, the ethics portion of it also need to be taken care of. So ICMR came out with the ethical guidelines for AI in biomedical research. Likewise, the GCP guidelines, the Clinical Trial Registry of India, the two major portals which are dealing with the biomedical research and ethics in our country is the CTRI, which is hosted by ICMR and managed by ICMR. And the other thing, there is a NETIC portal for ethics. All ethical committees need to be registered under the NETIC portal. So these are the two important portals you must keep in mind when you have to take your technology forward for clinical studies. You need to register your study in the CTRI, and the ethics committee needs to be registered in the NATIC portal. These are some of the guidelines part of what ICMR does. But as you know that ICMR is as primarily leading the biomedical research in the country, but when it comes to entrepreneurship in MedTech sector, it was really very new thing for the doctors in our country. You know that IITs and engineering institutes are very easy and they have lot of entrepreneurship policies. They can form startup companies, they can do consultancy assignments. But is it allowed to the medical institutes in our country? If we have to really spur innovation ecosystem, particularly in the biomedical domain, bringing entrepreneurship policy, particularly for medical institutes and doctors in our country, became very, very important. Our previous DG, Dr. Balram Bhargav, realized the need that entrepreneurship policy for medical professionals should be launched, and ICMR should play an important role in making that policy and launching it in India, so that doctors can come out from their domains, from their silos, they can work with engineers and try to develop products, they can do entrepreneurship. So I would recommend that if there are any medicos in your domain, and if you are working with medical institutes and they are not very open and interested to work with you, that because they think that they are in healthcare, it will be difficult for them to work, we need to tell them about this entrepreneurship policy, which is the national policy for medical doctors in the country. And now doctors in our country can also pursue entrepreneurship. These are the three recent policies that we launched. They were launched by the Minister of State recently. This was in fact, last weekend, Thursday, this event was organized, wherein for more than 2-3 years, our team was working very hard to develop this innovation ecosystem within ICMR and for the biomedical institutes across the country. And these three policies were launched by the Minister of State, Srimati Anupriya Patel, on Thursday, and they will be launched on our website today. And I would urge the innovators, if you want to understand what are the guidelines of ICMR when it pertains to intellectual property policy, how do we do public-private partnership, what is the skin in the game of ICMR when we do public-private partnership, or how do we go about CSR. These are the three policies you need to look at. Now, coming to the funding opportunities, generally people are very well aware on what DST, DBT, other government agencies offer. But when it comes to ICMR, generally innovators are not very much aware. Innovators, are you aware that 70% of the funding which comes to ICMR, 3,000 crores is our funding amount, 70% of that funding we are committed to lay out as part of our extramural research. And 30% of the funding which comes to ICMR is for intramural research, 30 to 35%, which means that it's a great opportunity for all of you to look at ICMR funding opportunities. They are big ticket funding which ICMR offers, particularly for biomedical research, MedTech innovation, and its translation. Earlier, we were very much focused in supporting biomedical research, the basic work. But now with the new leadership in place, we are really biased and we are supporting advanced research, product-driven research. So these are the three broad kind of funding opportunities that ICMR offers. One is the small grant, wherein we give funding amount of up to 2 crores. This is pure grant in aid. There is no PPP or anything hidden. So we give funding for technology development through small grant. This small grant is for 3 years and the funding ticket size is up to 2 crores, 1.5 to 2 crores. We do offer intermediate grant. Intermediate grant is generally for validation of technology, maybe multicentric studies. There the funding amount is up from 2 to 8 crores and this is for 4-year grant. Then we also set up centers for advanced research in the country. And the ticket size here for the Center for Advanced Research is 15 crores, up to 15 crores. This is a 5-year project. In the Center for Advanced Research, generally we promote if there are multiple technologies put under a single proposal and you can show that those products will be able to make a public health impact. That is the kind of technologies which we are looking at CAR. Under the Center for Advanced Research, we call it CAR. ICMR is also supposed to do funding support to help develop technologies which are aligned with the national health priorities. Say, for example, in India, we have the TB program, national TB program. Then we have a vector control program. So there are different national health programs. We have a program, Anemia Mukt Bharat is also there. So different kind of programs are there, which are called national health programs. So there are 12 priorities of ICMR linked with the national health program, wherein we give a funding amount of up to 25 crores to foster technology development under the national health program. That not only includes technology development, but also we support creating evidence for some kind of adoption of that technology into public health systems. So it's not only technology development, but its adoption, its implementation, everything is funded under national health priorities. It's a 25 crore project. These funding opportunities are advertised every year by ICMR. In fact, the Center for Advanced Research scheme is still on. The intermediate and small grant for this year we have closed. And NHRP is ongoing thing. Now coming to infrastructure advancement, what is the kind of infrastructure? Whatever we do, ICMR is particularly with the mandate of promoting public health. Biomedical research is our key mantra in which we are trying to support. That's our key mandate. So when it comes to the health research infrastructure in the country, ICMR, we have 27 institutes across the country and different institutes are focused on different diseases. Say, for example, we have NIOP, National Institute of Occupational Health, for one kind of different sector, health domain. Then we have Vector Control Institute for different kind of domain, like CSIR. Likewise, we have, since we are in biomedical research, the 27 institutes of ICMR are into different disease segments. Then we have 146 VRDLs across the country, which are viral research, diagnostic and research facilities across the country. These VRDLs played a very, very important role during the COVID time, when the facilities were already set up and the technologies which came from Pan-India were validated by the help of this VRDL network, which ICMR has. ICMR has also set up 103 MRUs. MRUs are some centers which we have set up within the medical institutes across the country. So we have utilized the strengths of the medical institutes across the country and we have set up 103 MRUs there. And MRHRUs 30 we have set up in rural areas for promoting biomedical research. These MRHRUs are associated with our ICMR institutes in those areas. And then for health technology assessment, we have 18 centers across the country for helping do cost effectiveness evaluation of the technologies. So these were the 3 macro elements in which ICMR is playing an important role. Now coming to the flagship initiatives in the MedTech domain, which ICMR is leading, supporting. Before I go to the initiatives which are there in ICMR, I just wanted to give you an idea of glimpses of ICMR contribution in developing and validating some vaccines like Covaxin. Everybody knows it's not only one vaccine which we developed and validated. The Japanese encephalitis vaccine, the TB vaccine, KFD vaccine are some of other examples of vaccines developed and supported by ICMR. And there are some diagnostic kits which ICMR had been developing and validating over years to come, last many years. So what happened was that ICMR was working in the area of devices and diagnostics, but that mechanism was spread across in various divisions of ICMR or various institutes of ICMR. Then came the vision of our previous DG and the current DG that if we have to support MedTech sector in the country, which is highly import dependent, this kind of a mechanism will not help. So that's how the Medical Device and Diagnostics Mission Secretariat was established by the earlier DG ICMR, Dr. Balram Bhargav at that point in time, and is completely being provided hand-holding support by current DG, our current secretary, Dr. Rajiv Behl. The philosophy of setting up MDMS was that if we have to look at MedTech sector, if we have to provide hand-holding support to this sector, we need to have a very, very strategic approach. It should happen in a mission mode. And this sector, if we have to support, cannot be done in piecemeal. You need to have a multi-pronged approach to provide holistic support to this sector. So this is the mandate of MDMS, the Medical Device and Diagnostics Mission Secretariat, which I head as mission in charge. This was launched in program mode in July 2020. We are just 3-year-old. In November 1, 2021, we were institutionalized because within 1 year, the ICMR thought that the piecemeal approach of working in a program mode would not help. We have to set up this MDMS as an institutionalized mechanism within the ICMR setting, since it has a bigger role to play. We started our working with a multi-pronged approach. We tried to work in different areas. But over the time, we had multiple rounds of stakeholder consultations. And then we thought that we should focus more on the areas wherein ICMR has strength. So now we are focusing more on preclinical, clinical research, regulatory studies, facilitation with the help of CDSU as part of MedTech Mitra, and the policies and guidelines is the main area in which we are working. When we initiated MDMS, there were different kind of schemes. Various visionary schemes were thought and implemented at that point in time. At that point in time, it was thought that IITs have, these are some of the schemes. I will be telling you more on 1 or 2 schemes which have really made a very good impact of ICMR MDMS. I will be telling you about these schemes. One is, of course, we have set up ICMR DHR Centers of Excellence at various IITs. One scheme is about M Pragati, then we have M Pride scheme. And ICMR funding schemes are again, we are availing to spur MedTech innovation in the country through ICMR funding schemes that I had told you in my previous slides. If you look at this diagram of values of death, we are not trying to initiate support technologies which are at concept stage. Early technology development we are not supporting, because we think that a lot of other government funding agencies are already doing their job in that area. So what we are trying to do, we are looking at technologies which have established proof of concept at bench scale, and then we are taking those technologies from there, TRL3, and then having ICMR skin in the game. We are sitting with the innovators, helping them develop clinical study protocols, conduct preclinical clinical studies. Once this evidence is generated, we are trying to take these technologies to health technology assessment, scale up, and public access. So this is the area wherein we are trying to make a mark and contribute. And we, of course, understand that when it comes to scale up and public access, industry has to play a role. So this is something I wanted to share with the innovators. So we are adopting both bottom-up and top-down approach, wherein we are trying to, this bottom-up approach we are trying to use for providing hand-holding support to technologies which have established proofs of concept, generating evidence by preclinical, clinical studies, HT, and public access. At the same time, we are also trying to create a pipeline of innovative medical device technologies. We started this program of the biodesign program we initiated to create pipeline of innovative medical device technologies. But later on, we thought that it's not our core business. We should concentrate more on bottom-up approach. So now we are putting more energies on this area rather than creating a pipeline of innovative medical device technologies. We are trying to identify such pipeline already created within the country and give them hand-holding support so that we can make a public health impact. So these are the different kind of schemes which ICMR MDMS is supporting. And as I mentioned that this is where we have identified a clear strategy and approach very focused on where we are trying to support, because that is the strength of ICMR, and I have decided with the guidance of our secretary that we are going to focus here only. TRL 4 and above is what we are trying to do for the centers, with different centers that we are creating. So we thought that to begin with, since we are not doing a lot of things which are small things, we are trying to do big things. And you know that creating big centers and wherein lot of technologies are already being generated, if they can be brought together and those innovators in a bucket can be provided hand-holding support, that can make a real impact. We started our journey with IITs. This program of setting up of ICMR DHR centers of excellence at IIT and IIT-like institutes were realized and established, was started in September 2021, wherein we thought that IITs are pioneers in doing biomedical innovation. They have generated a lot of technologies. But why can't these technologies through startups being developed at IITs reach the market? They are not being used by public at large. So what is the gap? We thought that IITs and ICMR have complementary strengths. IITs are really good in prototype and product development, but maybe they are not very much aware on what is the need of the government in public health. So if we can tell them, sensitize them on what are the kind of technologies government is looking at, and then provide them hand-holding support, we thought that we can make a mark. So they have excellent infrastructure, they have good startup ecosystem within their setups. They have industry partnerships with the industries. They have capabilities to scale up and commercialize. Since ICMR cannot directly give funding to the startups, maybe startups we can give, not to the industry. That's not our mandate. So we thought that maybe we should start with academic institutes like IITs, which are the powerhouse of innovations. And you know ICMR strengths. So we realized that and launched this scheme wherein we had set up centers of excellence in 7 IITs. It's a very, very strategic initiative wherein it is clearly focused on developing of medical device and diagnostics which are aligned with the national health programs. So it's not anything related to anything else. Since we are a public health organization, our collaboration with IITs is only to help them support development of strategic product development of devices and diagnostics which are aligned with the national health priorities, requirements of the PHCs, CHCs, Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Centers. So that's a very, very clear direction in which has been given to these IITs for technology development. So interestingly, when we worked with these 7 IITs, the most leading institutes across the country, these IITs would, of course, these IITs are just the tip of the icebergs. The way these IITs works is through their startups. So innovation came into picture, these startups came into picture. Any institute which had to apply to ICMR MDMS, there was a mandatory requirement that they should have a medical collaboration. So when we say that it is setting up of COEs at IITs, it is not at IITs, it is IITs in collaboration with medical institutes. And they are backed by startups. So ultimately, although we were working with the IITs and the medical institutes, but the real work on ground is happening through the startups. So with this association of 2.5 years, 3 years, we were able to develop a bunch of 27 odd technologies aligned with the national health priorities. So those technologies were there, technology development happened in 3 years. But how to validate those technologies was a big question. So then with the guidance of our secretary, Dr. Rajiv Behel, we have now set up centers for validation across the country, wherein the technologies which we have been developed by startups in these IITs are now being validated at different centers across the country. These are the validation centers. For cardiovascular devices, we have tied up with Suchita Institute. For other devices, we have tied up with St. John's Research Institute. One center for diagnostics validation we have set up at Safdarjung Hospital. Center for devices, bunch of 13-14 devices validation we have set up at AIIMS. For that dental technologies are again very, very import dependent. So we have set up a center for clinical validation of dental technologies at Maulana Azad Hospital. And for testing, AMTZ is the hub. So at AMTZ, we have set up ICMR Center for testing of these technologies. So what we are trying to develop, we are trying to develop regulatory compliant products which can be used by public at large. So just to give you a nutshell of what has been our effort, we did have centers. So you can see that with the IIT network, we tried to foster doctors engineers collaboration. Then we had set up centers for testing at AMTZ. For preclinical and clinical validation, I'll be telling you in much more detail in my subsequent slides what is the ICMR network we tried to rope in. And then for validation in HTA, we already had existing capabilities. We tried to bring them together as part of MDMS and MedTech. Just to give you an idea of what are the kind of technologies which we are developing through this network, how they are aligned with the national health priorities. The national health priority, there is a national program for prevention and control of cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and stroke. So we actually it's a very interesting program wherein we go to these IITs, sit with them whole day and try to identify technologies which have alignment with NHM, and then sit with them, bring them back to ICMR and try to develop protocols for them and facilitate their preclinical clinical studies. So this is a biopsy gun for tissue samples. It is developed at IIT Bombay, BTIC Center. Then this is a program at PHC, CHC level. It is very difficult to put in a slit lamp at all the slit lamp for the eye screening, the corneal screening is very easy to, but they are generally available in the tertiary healthcare centers. But if we have to do mass screening of eyes, both the for maybe for diabetes, retinopathy, or even for preventable blindness, we need to have point of care technology. So this is a very interesting device which is developed by IIT Madras, and this is the size of a bag, very small device, portable device, which can be used in place of a slit lamp at PHC CHC centers. They can take a picture, and then through telehealth consultation, the doctor can diagnose what is the kind of issue that the patient may have, and then recommend what is the kind of medicine that they need to take. Likewise, this is a device which is developed by IIT Hyderabad, Nemo Care Raksha. It is a device which is put on the foot of the child of a newborn, and it does the monitoring of the vitals of the child. And the program, National Health Program, wherein it is aligned with this reproductive maternal and child health program of National Health Program. So these are some of the examples to give you an idea. Another example is Autoscope, automated AI-assisted platform for cervical cancer screening. This is developed by IIT Delhi. We all know there is a program on cancer screening, National Program for Cancer Screening and Management is there. We thought that this product clearly aligns with that program. We all are aware that cervical cancer is the major issue, major problem within the country. It is the major issue in women, and lot of the screening is very much required so as to treat this cancer. I don't need to emphasize on the unmet need for cervical cancer screening and diagnosis, wherein we have 6 lakh new cases in 2020 globally, and we have a lot of mortality within the country. And the current practice, is the making a smear. You have to take a pap smear, you have to make the smear on the slide, and then you have to look into the microscope, which is a skilled activity. You need to have good skilled people to make those kind of the swabs. So what has happened through this device is that they have removed the skill requirement and made things automated. So we have tried to support development of an auto stain, which is able to make the smears into that slides automatically, and multiple smears can be made in the slides together. And again, AI driven device which is able to screen 4 slides at a time, and within a turnaround time of 10 minutes, this device is able to scan, and with the help of AI, it is able to tell that whether the cervical cancer risk is there or not. So it is able to screen the cervical cancer. These devices are very important, wherein you do not have lot of skilled manpower at the PHC, CHC level, which is the bottom of the pyramid. And what is the kind of hand-holding support which has been given by ICMR? This device, we connected this team with M Pragati facility at IIT Delhi, which helped them in prototype fabrication. This team needed really hand-holding support in drafting a clinical study protocol, we sat with the team to identify what are the standards applicable for this device, what are the kind of tests which should be required before it goes to preclinical or clinical study. And after that, this QMS documentation, their team did themselves, the IIT team could do themselves, but how do they do clinical study planning was our major contribution. We sat with them and brought our institute NICPR on board, ICMR NICPR on board, which is specializing into cervical cancer and other cancer related teams, because for any AI tool, you need a lot of data. If you do not have robust data to make the software robust, the screening will not be up to the mark. So ICMR NICPR had a lot of data. They also had strengths in developing these kind of technologies. So NICPR team helped them in technology development and training of the AI tool. And now we have tied them up with the Safdarjung Hospital for clinical validation once the technology is firmed up. And once this, we also help them in getting the clarity on the regulatory strategy for their device through MedTech Mitra. And they are at a stage now, they are trying to initiate the clinical studies. So this is first part of my presentation wherein I have given you a glimpse of what are the different broader things ICMR is doing, including MDMS, Medical Device and Diagnostics Mission Secretariat, which I'm heading. Then if we had all of these things, why MedTech Mitra? Why was there a need for MedTech Mitra when we were already doing all of this? Dr. Paul, a member Health Niti Aayog, along with our DG, thought that there is a lot of information available in the MedTech sector. There is a lot of funding opportunities available in the MedTech sector. But now there is a need wherein we have to provide hand-holding support to MedTech innovators. So we need to now have one-on-one interaction with the innovators, have skin in the game, try to do things for them so that we can actually make an impact in the MedTech ecosystem. Just to give you an idea on why MedTech Mitra, we all know this is the typical technology development cycle of identify, invent, implement. If you think that in an ideal scenario, we will definitely start with a problem. There will be some problem which will come into our mind. This is the unmet need which we should solve. An innovator will definitely then look into the solution space. What are the kind of opportunities? What are the kind of solutions which are already available in the market? And then identify what is the area wherein they should develop that innovation. Then they are able to understand that, yes, this is the white space wherein they should develop a technology. This is the identification phase. Once identification is done, in the invent phase, of course, the innovator will try to do some kind of proof of concept and doability assessment on bench. After this is done, the technology is firmed up. Comes the time for demonstration and validation. You need to do preclinical, clinical studies. You need to have regulatory strategy in place. So identify, invent, and implement. Ideally, in an ideal scenario, should go like this. But what happens actually? This is the practical situation, which is when we talk to the innovators, we hear from them that they are very good in identifying what is the problem that they need to solve. They are very good in developing early proof of concepts. But when it comes to preclinical, clinical study, what is the kind of regulatory strategy they should build up into their innovation? Developing a regulatory compliant product is the major issue. Developing prototypes which work very well in labs is easy for innovators. So that ultimately what we see, a bucket full of proof of concepts waiting to go to the next level, and public is not able to use these products. These innovations die their natural death sometimes. That is where we thought that MedTech Mitra is really very, very important. And people, innovators working in the MedTech sector would very well realize that these are some of the valleys of death wherein innovators need hand-holding support. One is, of course, they need to, from POC to prototype, they definitely need to understand what is the regulatory strategy. Generally, once they have developed the prototype, they do some kind of studies, then it comes to the mind of the innovators that, of course, we also need to do regulation. For vaccines therapeutics, things are very clear. But when it comes to MedTech, things becomes very difficult. So we thought that CDSO and ICMR should come together and provide hand-holding support to innovators to form up their regulatory strategy. Again, preclinical, clinical studies, since innovative devices, if you want to spur and support innovative technology development in the country, this hand-holding support for preclinical, clinical studies is a mandatory thing. And then HTN guidelines is, of course, something very, very important if we have to look at the public health procurement. So these are the valleys of death wherein we are trying to build bridges. This is how MedTech Mitra is trying to support in these areas. The more is the width of MedTech Mitra, is the more is our commitment in that area, wherein we think the handholding support is really, really mandatory. So MedTech Mitra's role in early technology development is limited. Of course, we provide, whosoever comes to us, we provide them right information, right guidance. But major skin in the game, wherein ICMR and CDSU, Niti Aayog have skin in the game, is in this area. Helping innovators develop regulatory strategy, wherein the CDSU officials sit with us. Helping innovators develop clinical study protocols or preclinical study protocols, conducting studies is where we have a major skin in the game. And then if there is some innovator which comes to us for wherein they have regulatory approval, but they need support for public health procurement, they do not know how to avail HTA, again, we help them there. So when we developed, we were brainstorming on what MedTech Mitra should offer. With the visionary leaders on board of MedTech Mitra, they advised that innovator should be able to come and avail MedTech Mitra at any point in time. So these are all the innovation entry points. If you are at the early stage, you can come. If you are at the POC stage, still you can come to us. Prototype stage, you can come. So these are all the entry points for MedTech Mitra. So any point in time, you can approach MedTech Mitra, and the knowledge partners which are there on board as part of MedTech Mitra, we will be able to connect them with you. And in fact, they are a part of the meeting, one-on-one meeting that you have with the MedTech Mitra. These people, you will see them all sitting in that room. You will have Deputy Drug Controller devices sitting in that room, Deputy Drug Controller Diagnostics sitting in that room, ICMR representative, the clinical trials unit team is sitting there, AMTZ team is there, the animal house facility head director, some nominee from ICMR NARF is there, HTA team is there. So this is a interestingly very, very holistic support that we are trying to provide through MedTech Mitra. We have different knowledge partners on board in MedTech Mitra. BIS is a part of MedTech Mitra. If there is an innovative technology, you do not know what are the kind of standards applicable for your device, we request BIS to give guidance to the innovators on the standards applicable. If standards are not there, the BIS team is proactive and help develop standards for that device. AMTZ is there for doing pre-compliance gap analysis and testing. Regulatory strategy, we have CDSU is a close partner. They are a collaborator. So we do regulatory strategy streamlining with the CDSU. Over the time, we thought that there are some radiation emitting devices as well, which are coming to MedTech Mitra. So we requested AERB also to come on board, and they have kindly agreed to be a part of this network. For preclinical clinical study support, we have in ICMR clinical trial network. I will be telling you about that. ICMR NAR facility, which is able to do end-to-end preclinical studies, is a part of MedTech Mitra. Health Technology Assessment and Center for Guidelines from DHR is a part of MedTech Mitra. For public access, NHS, RC and GEM are again a part of MedTech Mitra. And it is just one-stop shop for the innovators. So what MedTech Mitra offers? This is what I have covered is why MedTech Mitra. What MedTech Mitra offers is two kind of thing. One is we have an information cell wherein if you need to get some information on things already available in the public, but you need to understand where it is, what is the authentic source of that information, what are the testing centers which have been notified by CDSU, which should be availed by the innovators, what are the applicable standards for this kind of a device. BIS has made standards, but innovator is not able to understand from where to get hold of those standards. So what are the kind of funding opportunities offered by ICMR, DST, BIRAC, all funding agencies? We have put that information on our portal. And we also give IP advisory. So this is the part of information cell. Hand-holding support is particularly for preclinical studies, clinical studies, HTA guidelines, and public access. How MedTech Mitra supports is, I mentioned in my previous slide, we consider our knowledge partners as the pillars of strengths of MedTech Mitra. The beauty of MedTech Mitra is all of us sitting together under one roof and having one-on-one meeting with the innovators. So when we are talking to one startup company, it is only that startup company. We are talking about that technology only. It's not a group meeting which we are having, but the panel of the MedTech Mitra will be all sitting together to provide hand-holding support to the innovators. You all are aware that Atal Innovation Mission is a essential knowledge partner of MedTech Mitra, wherein the innovator, if they come to us at early stage technology development, they need support in prototype development, or they are looking for incubation facility. We connect the innovator with Atal Innovation Mission. They have, AIM has these incubation centers across the country, and then Atal Innovation Mission will look at which is the right kind of incubator, which is fit for your innovation, or if you need some kind of a support in prototype development, they will connect you with the right center. For pre-compliance gap analysis and testing, we have Bureau of Indian Standards, Kalam Institute of Health Technology, and AMTZ on board, wherein we can facilitate testing of your devices before it goes to preclinical or clinical studies. For preclinical and clinical validation, hand-holding support, which is the main thing in which ICMR is playing a game. For preclinical study support, we have set up a facility at AMTZ, which is a large animal house facility, particularly for MedTech. We can facilitate preclinical studies of your technology at AMTZ or at ICMR NARF, which is a 100-acre plus facility in Hyderabad. Any kind of animal study you think of can be done in NARF, whether it is a small animal study, rodent study, or a mice study, to sheep study, to pig or a goat or a horse. Any kind of studies can be done, preclinical studies can be done in ICMR NARF. This is our clinical study network. In fact, this network was developed during the time of COVID, when a lot of vaccines and devices, which were diagnostics, which were developed within the country, were coming to ICMR, and they wanted its validation very, very fast. So ICMR started and established Indian Clinical Trial and Education Network, Intent Network, under a separate unit, the Clinical Trial Unit, Clinical Studies, Trials and Projection Unit, which is a very close component of MedTech Mitra. We started with 40 sites. These sites were ready for clinical studies, but they were primarily started for COVID. But our DG thought that let's make these sites part of MedTech Mitra. These 77, we have 7, now these sites have been expanded recently. And I think 10 days back, these sites, 30 sites have additionally been added to this network. So now we have pan-India 75 clinical study sites across the country, which can be availed, wherein we can facilitate clinical studies. Regarding HTA and market access, Dr. Premnath had told that briefly we should touch upon what is health technology assessment. Say in our country, the resources are very, very limited. Any kind of a device cannot be recommended for procurement in the public health systems. So we have this HTA is a very systematic evaluation of clinical effectiveness and cost effectiveness of health technologies. So HTA is primarily done for health technologies which can be positioned in public health. So there are two components which are, HTA is based on internationally accepted tool. The evidence which is already generated by the innovator is evaluated by the HTA team. These technologies should have a regulatory approval. So this is a question which often comes to us from the innovators, that what is the stage wherein we can recommend the technology for HTA? There are two important components which innovators should keep in mind. One is that the technology which comes to MedTech Mitra for HTA should have regulatory approval, number one. Number two, it should have clinical evidence already generated, which means you should have some kind of a peer, the data of evaluation of this technology should be published in peer-reviewed journals. So these are the two things. You should have a good clinical evidence. You should have regulatory approval already received. So after that regulatory approval is received, I would urge the innovators listening to this talk that you can go to our website, HTIN website. Earlier, HTA was very much confined to the needs of the state governments. The state government would give a topic, and then HTA team at DHR would do HTA assessment for only those topics which are received by them from the government. But with the help of MedTech Mitra, Now you can avail, the startup innovators can avail this facility. We will be very happy as part of MedTech Mitra team to facilitate HT of your technologies, provided you have two things already achieved. One is regulatory approval, second is good clinical evidence already generated. The HTA analysis is also done through our centers. We have pan-India some centers for doing HTA, and it is housed at Department of Health Research, our parent department. Now we have discussed all of this. Let's now try to see how you can contact MedTech Mitra. We have understood why MedTech Mitra, how MedTech, what MedTech Mitra does. Now the question comes, how do you come to us? It's a very, very simple thing. MedTech Mitra portal is available, wherein you just have to fill one pager form. That application will reach out to us. MedTech Mitra team will call you back, and then we will fix up your meeting. It may take a month, maybe 20 to 1 month time for us to fix up your meeting with the Technical Advisory Committee of MedTech Mitra, wherein you will be seeing all of them sitting together. You just have to log into our portal. It's not been just 1 year of our launch. We were launched, MedTech Mitra was launched last year, eve of December, Christmas Eve, December 25, 2023. And since then, we have been very, very active. We have had multiple rounds of discussions and meetings with the MedTech innovators. And we keep doing a lot of workshops and so capacity building also we keep on doing. This is a regular, we do these workshops with the CDSCO. And this is a workshop that we did in devices, regulation of devices. One we did for regulation of diagnostics. Recently, I have not added that picture. We did one workshop last Friday on preclinical studies at IIT Delhi. That also we did. So on various topics of interest to innovators, particularly in our areas of work, we keep doing workshop. We did a workshop on clinical studies, we did a workshop on preclinical studies, and Dr. Premnath is aware that we also did an exclusive session for CSIR technologies. So with this MedTech Mitra, we have been able to establish a hub and spoke model. We are very closely working with our knowledge partners. And interestingly, everything which was already existing within the ecosystem, MedTech Mitra is trying to bring them together to help the MedTech innovators. So these are some of the interesting publications by the Honorable Minister of Health. Dr. Paul also did one publication. Our DG also did some publication. These are the links that you can use and have a look at what MedTech Mitra offers. Just to give you, unless we show you some case studies of real work, what we have done on ground, you will not be convinced as innovators. So I thought of maybe putting in 2-3 slides for you to understand on what is the kind of hand-holding support we have given to MedTech Mitra under MedTech Mitra so far. So for example, this technology, when we talk to the innovators, they were really struggling to file application for test license. So MD12 that we say, the test license application drafting and filing becomes very difficult for innovators. They would often go to consultants, regulatory consultants who would take a lot of money from them to make their applications. So we have developed that in-house capability within our team, MDMS team, a small team, although we are also trying to scale up, wherein we have ourselves drafted their test license application and filed those applications. 20 such applications we have filed and 11 such innovators have already received test license. And the application was filed by us along with the innovators, our team, MedTech Mitra team. One, there was handheld X-ray device, which was really struggling. Innovators from the handheld X-ray device, they were struggling to understand what are the AERB registration requirements. They would often go to CDSCO, AERB, but they were struggling. It was a chicken and a egg kind of a situation, wherein that was the time we requested AERB to nominate 1 or 2 people from their organization to be a part of MedTech Mitra. They came on to the MedTech Mitra meeting, gave hand-holding support and guidance to the innovators, and they have been now able to get AERB registration. Regarding preclinical and clinical validation support, these are some technologies, 8 technologies which so far have been recommended. See, every technology which comes to us for preclinical clinical study support, we have a prioritization activity. Generally, the technologies which are more aligned with the national health programs, Ultimately, we want through these initiatives that regulatory compliant products should be developed which are used by people at large. So the technologies which are aligned with the programs, national health programs, are prioritized by MedTech Mitra. So any and every technology is not supported by for clinical or preclinical study. See, mentoring support for developing a clinical study protocol, that mentoring is given at any point in time. But hand-holding support for ICMR to conduct those studies for you with the help of our network is done primarily for the technologies which are aligned with the national health programs. And those technologies go deep dive by intent. There is a intent as a technical advisory group. The detailed proposal is evaluated there, and our team helps you in developing the protocols and conducting those studies. These are two examples. One is the Cindy Colpo, which was developed by the startup company. It is a AI-based cervical cancer screening device. The other one, Quanticoff based AI-based BP monitoring device, is again being validated by ICMR. These are the technologies when an innovator came to us, they already had regulatory approval and they wanted that we have regulatory approval, we have the data, clinical data already generated. Can you help us with HTA? So such mature technologies, 11 technologies have been recommended so far for health technology assessment to DHR, and they have initiated. In fact, for Cerigo, they have already completed the study, health technology assessment, and the results, the policy document would be launched soon. This AI step again came to us with regulatory approval and clinical evidence already generated, and it has been recommended for HTA. One product came to us wherein they had regulatory approval, but they were struggling that how do we go about public health procurement. We have recommended this product to NHSRC. NHSRC is now looking at how do they do the state pilots for this product and see the operational feasibility of this device on ground, and then so that it can be recommended for public health procurement. This is one case. So these are, in fact, interestingly, whenever we have a technical advice,
We found the MedTech.
Can you hear it now?
Yeah, it's
Hi,
good.
I'm Hilma Perumal, founder and CEO of Cosmosis. We had approached MedTech Mitra to understand more about the clinical investigations and regulatory pathway required for our device CanScan in India. We found the MedTech Mitra team very approachable and helpful for startups like us. The expert committee guided us on how to conduct clinical investigation of our device and also helped us to understand more about the regulatory pathway that is involved in India. Thank you so much, MedTech Mitra team.
Hi, my name is Afsar and I am the co-founder of the startup Defined Bioinnovations Private Limited, Bangalore. Sometime earlier this year, in the media, when I came across MedTech Mitra being a government entity and as a transformative platform aimed at supporting the MedTech innovators, I decided to connect with them by email so as to seek support in setting up a production facility for our indigenously developed medical device, that's a coagulation analyzer system, Fibri-Timers Zeta-1, a first by an Indian company. And in no time, I got a reply with a web link, and the jury was amazing. Kudos, and keep doing the great job in supporting us innovators. Thank you so much.
With the constant evolving regulatory guidelines, it's very difficult for medical devices companies to get the pathway clearance. That is when we reached out to the MedTech Mitra portal, an initiative by the Niti Aayog, CDSCO and ICMR. And we sincerely thank the feedback and the guidance that we got from the team. Now we have a clear pathway, not only on the regulatory approvals, but even on the clinical study, as well as the next steps in health and technology assessment. This is Dr. Satish, founder and CEO of AI Health Highway. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Atik. My team has developed a low-cost CRISPR-Cas-based integrated TB detection system, which includes a versatile detection platform, Rapid Glow, and a Glow TB PCR kit. As an innovator, I was unaware of the regulatory pathways. MedTech Mitra team helped me to create login account on the portal and helped me drafting my documents meticulously and applied my test license. Since then, I received 2 test licenses. Thank you, MedTech Mitra team.
just the last part of my presentation on innovation for public health impact. So basically, since then, now we have discussed what are the different key ingredients of innovation ecosystem, key initiatives which ICMR has done. But we do not leave things even till that point in time. We are satisfied only if we are able to actually bring these products for use by public.
We seem to have lost you there.
Okay, I think it's slow.
Yeah, I think we can hear you now.
Yeah. And we not only made it for our country, but also made it available to the world. That's the mantra that the world is one flat village and we should be helping each other when it comes to any kind of public health emergencies. Likewise, another beauty of India and ICMR in that context is bringing down the costs and making things available and accessible for public at large, wherein we all are aware that during COVID times, the diagnoses were very, very costly. The one test would cost, RT-PCR test would cost 1,500 rupees. But with the indigenous capability built, we were able to bring down the cost of testing to less than $1. That is the beauty of public health and institutes like Venture Center, ICMR, all of us working together to make products accessible and affordable. And we not only for reaching to the hard to reach areas is again our mandate, wherein we not only try to make products available to easy areas, but also hard to reach areas. Like you can see with the help of drone, we try to deliver vaccine at that point in time. And this drone mission is again being ramped up. The capabilities for delivery of things in hard to reach areas through these drones. Again, we are trying to ramp up the capabilities. Another example of last mile healthcare delivery is might be aware about Mission Delhi, wherein we have set up a system of ambulances and these the bike driven care, wherein this under Mission Delhi, if there is any kind of cardiovascular issue and you are expecting a MI, then you give a call at 14430 and this bike with the entire package would reach to this place and prevent the heart attack, preventable MI we are able to take care of through these facilities. Likewise, we have a stroke care unit. Likewise, we have BSL-3 facilities, mobile vans across the country. So in a nutshell, ICMR is really keen and committed to play its role in MedTech innovation ecosystem, whether it is by enabling policies, infrastructure, funding support, evidence-based research, clinical validation, and health technology assessment. So this is the kind of innovation ecosystem which we have tried to build within the MedTech sector so that innovators can get benefited. We do not think that we are only working in that area. We are a part of the entire landscape of different government agencies all working together as Team India. And we are proud to be part of Team India, wherein all government agencies together along with private sector and startups are playing their own role for ultimately for public health impact. So that's all from my side, and I would like to welcome the innovators listening to this talk, and even apart from this talk, working incubated at Venture Center, your friends who come and avail these facilities available under the MedTech Mitra, and we are really excited and looking forward to help you accelerate your innovation journey and making a difference in the MedTech ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think maybe we can unshare that will be on the screen.
I think there are a lot of questions.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions. I've compiled some of them. First of all, thank you very much. It was it was an excellent overview of the kind of initiatives that ICMR is taking, and of course, much needed and very useful as well. And of course, I should also tell you that we had a capacity of 100 on Zoom, so we reached the capacity, and rest of them are on YouTube. So thank you very much. I mean, it helps. Clearly, it indicates that a lot of people want to engage with ICMR and learn more about how they can utilize some of these capabilities as well. So I'll just go to the questions. Yeah. And of course, people are free to type their comments in the chat box, and I'll try and pick them up. And I see some of them have raised the hands also. But please give me a few minutes to first cover a few topics which have been coming up commonly, and then we can take it up further as well, right? So first of all, I just wanted to request you to talk a little bit about the clinical trials and clinical validation part of it. And you mentioned that you're picking up those products which are aligned with the national programs, right? And there were some questions around that. First of all, how does one approach ICMR, and who should be contacted if we want to request being considered for clinical trials or clinical validation, right? And is there a specific portal for it or a contact person for it?
Yeah, so basically, the major portal is MedTech Mitra for the startup innovators. That is one part of it. When you apply for MedTech Mitra, you have to write what is the kind of support you need. So if you need support for clinical validation, you can just put that in your query box. And there are two kind of things that we do. For any and every innovator, we would help them, guide them with the clinical study planning. So that planning part, in giving the right information, helping them plan a clinical study or preclinical studies, there, helping them develop a preclinical or clinical study protocol is for everybody, whosoever approaches MedTech Mitra and is needy. But ICMR having a skin in the game and facilitating validation through our intent network would be for few which are, preference would be given to technologies which are aligned with the national programs. But it also depends upon our technical advisory committee. The technical advisory committee thinks that the technology is mature enough. What we are seeing in MedTech is that when innovators approach us for clinical study, they are at an early stage of development, is our experience. They do not know about regulation. They are at the stage of prototype. They are not at the stage of product which has been developed in QMS compliant facility. They have not received test license so far. Their testings would not have been done on bench. So testing a prototype, taking a prototype through clinical validation becomes very, very difficult. So we have to apply a lot of time and investment in making it ready for a clinical study, helping them, give them a mentoring support. So that one part is MedTech Mitra, through which you can avail this facility. The other part is ICMR funding opportunities.
Yeah.
When you look at funding opportunity, small grant, intermediate grant, again, there we can support. But that is generally at arm's length. These small grant, intermediate grant, you will be developing a protocol, our committee will be reviewing. But when it comes to MedTech Mitra, we will have skin in the game. Our team clinical trial unit will be sitting with you and trying to help you develop those protocols, help you conduct those studies. So these are the two options which are available to the innovators to avail the clinical studies support by ICMR. But I would recommend MedTech to take the MedTech Mitra option.
So if somebody is planning a clinical trial and ICMR picks it up, does ICMR fund the clinical study as well? And you said there are two mechanisms. One is extramural and one is internal. Am I right?
Intramural is like CSIR. It is for our institutes. So let's not confuse with intramural. Intramural is only for, let's say, for CSIR institutes, for ICMR institutes. That is a small part of the grant that we give. I told you that the intermediate grant of ICMR is primarily for clinical studies, multicentric clinical studies, wherein huge amount of funding is given. 7 to 8 crores funding is given for those studies.
No, what I meant was that suppose one is to execute a clinical study, and you suggest that this is, if you think that this meets your requirement of meeting the national programs and is a mature enough technology which your committee agrees to, where does the clinical trial actually happen? Who funds it? And ICMR funding, does it go to the hospital or to the startup?
That's a very, very important question, because if you look at the mandate of ICMR, we cannot give direct funding to the startup or a company. So we give funding to the sites, our clinical study sites. Small portion of that money is also accounted for in that clinical study site money, wherein the consumables, because the devices you will have to provide to the site. So that small portion of making the devices available to the site can go to the innovator, but major chunk of the funding goes to the sites, clinical study sites.
Yeah, and
So
the
what
site applies for the funding? The hospital site applies for the funding, the PI and the site?
I'll tell you exactly what happens on the ground. Is once the technical advisory committee of ICMR looking at the clinical trials, the intent tag, looks at the technology, it finds it good. Then what will happen is the ICMR intent, clinical studies and trials unit, like MDMS unit, we have a CST unit, which is an integral component of the MedTech Mitra. They will be doing an expression of interest within that small network of intent sites, 75 sites. A limited UI will be floated through email, maybe within giving them a week's time or 10 days time to come back on their interest to get associated with that study. So this is how we bring in the intent site on board independently for technology validation of that technology. So it won't happen in the MedTech Mitra if the innovator comes with a ready site, their site is ready and they say that we would like to do that study in this site, then the funding route, they have to adopt the funding route, wherein they already have sites on board, they already have clinical partners on board, so they should apply through small grant or intermediate grant of ICMR. But if they do not have sites on board, they have a good technology ready for clinical studies, they should take MedTech Mitra route, wherein ICMR intent team will be doing a limited expression of interest within these 75 sites and looking for their capabilities and interest in validating that technology and then give money to those sites. It can be one site, it can be 2, 3 sites, depending upon the requirement of the technology.
And what happens if there are multiple products doing the same thing, say the cervical cancer screening, for example, right? And also some might already have gone through some trials, some will come later. How do you deal with that kind of a situation? In the sense, how do you prioritize it? Because the product coming later might be a better product, right? It's quite possible. So in which case, how do you, as ICMR, prioritize how you do the CTs?
So interestingly, if you look at these areas, national health priorities, it's not just one solution which government is looking for. We need multiple solutions, and multiple solutions would be able to address to different aspects of that problem. Say, for example, if we have to have a TB, in TB, we are funding 100 things at a time. So there would be 5, 10, 15 different type of diagnostic technologies which ICMR is supporting. So we are trying to build a portfolio of technologies around that national health priority. It doesn't matter. The technology should be good. It should be robust. It should be effective. We will support. So it is not one technology, multiple technologies we are supporting in that area because the needs of the country are huge.
Yeah. And these studies are primarily meant to be as academic clinical trials or regulatory clinical trials?
This is for
are they submitted for regulatory approvals?
Yeah. So that's a very, very important thing I would like the innovators to understand. MedTech Mitra's mandate is to help develop regulatory compliant products for public health. We are not supporting academic studies. We would make, if you have an academic study, you want to do some kind of an academic study, we will help you do that study on your own. But what we are trying to do is help develop a regulatory compliant product for which can be used by people at large. So we would be advising you to do academic study, establish proof of concept, then we will help you to file for MD12 test license, receive test license, and then do a study for regulatory compliance. So that ultimately that effort goes into some product which can be used by people at large.
Sometimes there are situations where the person has already received regulatory approvals for a given claim, but there are additional superiority claims they wish to make for which they want to do academic trials. Would you consider that?
The academic trials for establishing proof of concept for many interesting technologies, say, which are very new, very innovative technologies, we cannot directly take those technologies for regulatory compliance study. Say, for example, if there is a microneedle patch for vaccine delivery, wherein we do not have proof of concept as such. So we would be then, first of all, doing an academic study, looking to see that the technology works, like you mentioned, and then support the regulatory compliance studies. So these are some exceptions to the scene, but these are real exceptions. Otherwise, we are much more interested to support a regulatory compliance study. That's the mandate which we have received from the higher ups.
I just want, first of all, just want to check up how much time you have, because there are quite a few questions. I wanted to take another at least 15 minutes, but I don't know if it's available with you. So are you okay with it?
That would be good because I have to catch a flight today, I told you.
Yeah. So how much time did you say?
10
Yeah,
minutes
okay.
should be good.
Can I just please our organizing team by just taking a short break to take a group photo? So Meghna, over to you, and then we'll quickly continue with the questions.
We would just request all our participants to switch on their video cameras and help us capture this moment. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. I'll just quickly go to a few other questions. There were a couple of quick questions about policies, and I have put out the links on the chat box for others, so they can probably look it up, including entrepreneurship policy and so on, and the portals as well. There was some confusion regarding whether the EC registration needs to be done in MedTech portal or CDSCO. Do you want to comment on that?
The MedTech portal is basically the CTRI and the MedTech portal are again a part of the CDSCO regulatory framework only. So CDSCO would mandate that the CTRI registration should happen. So it's all for regulatory compliance. MedTech portal is for registration of the ethical committees. If you have to do some kind of a study and there is an ethics committee which needs to be basically registered, then ethics portal is the one wherein you have to register your ethics committee.
Yeah. So I think that's fine.
Are part of the CDSCO thing, just that they are for health research. So therefore, we are managing those portals, and I'm expecting that these portals may shift and get integrated into CDSCO. Moving on, website.
Okay.
That integration thing, there are discussion going on.
Okay. So let me move on. Sorry, let me move on to another topic, which is grants. There are some questions relating to who is eligible for grants from ICMR. Are individual inventors and innovators eligible, or it's only for institutional innovators? And that is one question which you might want to address.
Institutional innovators, we do not have any grant like BIG grant. You need to have an institutional link to be able to be eligible for ICMR grants. And there have been cases wherein innovators have been given funding, but as I told to you earlier, I told Dr. Premnath earlier also that since our mandate is to promote biomedical research, we cannot give direct funding to the startup innovators. We give funding to the sites. So innovator would get a small chunk of the money for making products available to the sites to conduct the study. So eligible organizations are generally, it can be medical institute, engineering institute, any kind of institute, and a startup incubated into that institute is eligible as part of the institutional network.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also a question around the IIT and ICMR, centers and the network. How do people find out who to contact for specific topics in that network? Is there a certain database available? Is there a way to figure out? Is there a map with the health priorities and mission topics? Because some of them have difficulty finding the right person to talk to, and how to also benefit from those centers, because those centers will have their own programs as well. If there are individual innovators or startups who want to engage with these centers, is there a mechanism by which they can do it?
Yes, of course. What happens is that these IITs every year they would present a bunch of 10-15 technologies. It's a very different kind of a scheme. wherein it's not a frozen scheme. The innovators keep approaching the PIs and co-PIs within these IITs who are the nodal officers for these centers. And they would present every year 10 to 15 technologies, maybe 20 technologies, out of which our committee would shortlist some of the technologies which we feel are at TRL 3-4. Early proof of concept is already there. And they have a potential alignment with the program, would be of utility to the government, people at large. That's how every year we shortlist some technologies. And you might have seen in ICMR website, we every year these technologies are also advertised on ICMR website, and we invite validation centers, the hospitals, to pick up bunch of these technologies, say 5-6 technologies, and put in a CAR proposal, Center for Advanced Research proposal, to validate those technologies. So that opportunity is there. So what I'll do, maybe after this meeting, I'll share with you the contact details if you want, the nodal officers in these IITs. You can just talk to them. We are very open. And if you are incubated within those IITs, your startups can avail this facility of handholding support through these centers at IITs. I can share their contact details and also share with you the list of national health priorities for your reference.
Yeah. There were a few questions here specific to domains. One was relating to dental and another was relating to ophthalmology. Do you have specific initiatives in these areas which you want to just briefly mention, or network partners?
Yeah, dental hub is there. We have set up at Maulana Azad Medical College. The maids, we have set up a center there. So interestingly, you can avail the facilities of these centers through MedTech Mitra. In MedTech Mitra, if there is some technology in dental domain wherein they need handholding support or clinical validation, we will connect you. Interestingly, these validation centers are also very flexible. Our DG have told these centers that you do not have to fix your mind on maybe 4 or 5 technologies. So if MedTech Mitra recommends some technology in the dental domain, which is good technology and is a good make in India product or an innovative product which we think has a public health potential, we would recommend that technology to be validated by our dental hub, which we have set up at Maulana Azad. Regarding the eye, we do not have any specific center for ophthalmology related devices, but of course these broader centers like AIIMS and St. John's or Safdarjung is for diagnostics. These 2 centers we can explore, and the PIs are very nice and flexible. They would look at doctors in that domain and explore their interest. So it's not it's unlike government where you have very fixed walls and you just do this only. These kind of centers which we are trying to support through ICMR MDMS or MedTech Mitra are very flexible centers. The PIs are also very flexible. They would talk to the right doctors within their institute and engage with them and gauge their interest if they would be interested to validate those technologies. So for dental hub, in short, we have a center, but for ophthalmology, we do not have a dedicated center. But the leading institutes are on board for validation. They are very nice. They are
So I think everybody should just approach through MedTech Mitra is what your suggestion is, and you will take a call on how to take action on
you
it,
can
right?
leave it up to us. Yes, you look into our network and see what best can be done.
Sorry, I'll just ask one last question, which has got to do with HTA. HTA, does it, I mean, are there instances where it has helped with specifically public health related, procurements by the government? Is it something which is accepted by most of the state governments in the public health procurement process? And does the HTA, besides evaluating a particular technology, does it place any, does it also make recommendations on pricing, because it's a business sensitive matter? So some startups are worried about that.
See, basically, when HTA is done, it is not done for a particular company. HTA is done on the topic. Say, for example, the HTA team recently did an HTA on portable ECG machines. Is a topic. It's not a particular device developed by an innovator. Portable ECG machines, then 2-3 they will take in that domain and do a cost effectiveness analysis of that product in mind vis-a-vis what are existing options available. And then the cost effectiveness recommendation are also given for different tiers of the healthcare system. Say one device after doing the HT analysis could be more suitable for, say for example, it is high on cost, it is more suitable for tertiary healthcare center, but may not be the right, may not be cost effective for primary health or secondary healthcare sector. So this interesting understanding has also come into the HTA system. Earlier they would say that it is not cost effective broadly. So it is not good for public health procurement. Now our DG has advised the HTA team that the needs of the country are huge. If a product is not good for PHC or CHC, it can be relatively good for the tertiary healthcare. So they have to now give very specific recommendations on cost effectiveness evaluation of that product with respect to the healthcare tier, wherein it is more suitable. So that is one part of it. Second is it is broadly done on a topic, not on a specific device. And third is the HTA team comes out with a policy recommendation. That policy document is shared with them. It is also flagged on their website, and it is also shared with all the state governments across the country. And NHSRC, which does state pilots, takes on board the HTA recommendation very well for doing that, the pilots, prioritizing technologies for recommending state pilots. So in many ways, HTA helps in public health procurement, but of course, you cannot push a product with HTA recommendation, it's an advisory. It is up to the, you know that it's a state matter, so state governments then take a call on whether they would like to procure or not, but it definitely plays a very good role in recommendation and motivating state governments to try that product or procure that product.
Great. So thank you very much. I mean, I really appreciate you taking the time despite your travel plan today. So thanks a lot for running this for us and sharing all this information. And of course, we wish all the best to ICMR's efforts. They're very useful for all our MedTech innovators and entrepreneurs. And I'm sure many of them will sign up on the MedTech Mitra portal as well. And of course, for a larger ecosystem, I think we need so much, I mean, for a large country like ours, we need so much more of this. So thank you for your efforts as well. So let me close it on this note and over to you, Manish. And thank you very much to everybody. I think Manish has put out a form for feedback. So please fill up the form. We will have other opportunities to invite Dr. Markan. We'll try and call you again for another occasion.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Premnath, for inviting me here. It was a pleasure interacting with the innovators. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining, and thank you, Dr. Suchita Markan, for your time and inputs. And thanks to all the participants for joining in. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.